Hello everyone, my name is Ruhil and today me and my group mates from Group 9, MGM3123 are going to present to you all about our HR interview project. So let's proceed.
Introduction of the project. We needed to conduct an interview with HR manager to ask about 5 aspects in the HR department. So we needed to search for a HR manager from one big company by emailing a few companies. We failed to find HR manager even though we have emailed almost 20 big companies. We find an alternative to search for the HR manager to avoid the deduction of 8% in our assignment by asking our relative if they knew any HR manager from big companies. After found the HR manager, we had an interview on 17 January 2022 at 11 a.m. The objective of the project is to understand the importance of the HR departments in an organization, identify the responsibilities of HR departments, discuss companies' best practices in HR department, describe the HR role as strategic business partner, discuss the current and future challenges of HR, explain the core competency and characteristics of good and effective HR managers. About the company, the big company we interviewed was Malaysia Building Society Bank, Mbsb. Mbsb Bank Berhad has received a license from Bank Negara Malaysia to handle Islamic banking business under the Islamic Financial Services Act in 2013. Mbsb Bank is monitored and regulated by Bank Negara Malaysia. Mbsb Bank joined into a share purchase agreement with the shareholders of Asian Finance Bank Berhad. About the manager, his name is Zulkefli Rahman, who is the HR manager of Mbsb Bank. He has a degree in electronics and information system engineering and graduated from Tribawara University in Tokyo. Mbsb Bank's total reward, human resources, learning and development, performance, and succession planning are all under his purview. He had 20 years experience in TM's total compensation and performance. He is now in the leadership of group-wide employee benefits, such as flexible work arrangement (FWA), which assists in developing the company's high-performance culture.
Hello there, this is Haque Syed Faizanul with the metric number 209250, and now I'm going to talk about the HR best practices in Mbsb Bank. So what is HR best practices? We all know that HR best practices includes HR planning, organizing, recruiting, selecting, training and development, performance management, employee relationships, etc. So in this interview session with the HR manager of Mbsb Bank, Mr. Zulkefli Rahman, we have learned and identified some of the best HR practices of the bank. First of all, the manager mentioned that the company has already moved from the hierarchy process of the HR. So to perform strategic human resource management, they have adopted an agile HR model to deliver the best practices of HR to all of their employees. So in this model, they have actually 3 categories. The first one is the strategic business partner. And in this position, the company has a very strategic person in charge of doing relationship management with the business. The next one is the agile team. This is actually called HR professionals leading the initiatives for specific HR roles such as compensation, recruiting, IR, and etc. And the last category is the HR Center of Excellence, COE, and this category is in charge of such roles as rewards, training development, supported by the HR processes. So this agile model is the primary key for best practices rather than the hierarchical model. What happens actually in the hierarchical model? There, someone has to report to their manager and he has to report to his manager. So they actually moved on from that model to the agile model where some departments have their own specific roles to do. Now move on to their hiring process. We all know that every companies have their own practices for hiring an employee. So in Mbsb Bank, they have a program which is called the JAME program. This is actually a sleep program which they rebranded as a JAME program. So this program is aimed to recruit talents in Mbsb. This program, they do some assessment tests such as English language assessment, cognitive ability assessment, and follows situational interview technique to get an outstanding talent for the vacant position. Now move on to their another best practice, that is their compensation, fair and performance-based compensation. So they actually allow the employees to travel to outstation for their work. And when their employees are traveling to outstation, they provide all the KNT travel, food and lodging expenditures. Everything is covered by their company. And again, the company also provides individual rewards to the employee who fulfill their target goals. This is actually to reward their performance and motivate them to do well. Motivate not only them, motivate the other employees to perform well, they accomplish their tasks. So this is how they give the benefits and the performance-based compensation. And the last best practices in Mbsb Bank we identified is the training and development. Mr. Rahman has already mentioned about the upskilling and reskilling, because he said sometimes the employees' skills become so obsolete. And now, as this is the technological era, we have to get acquainted with the technology. So it needs to upskill and reskill to get back their best and the most of their capabilities. So they do upskilling and reskilling the employees, maybe once in a month. And then yes, they provide some computer-based training and also some English language-based training, because they say that as the technology is moving forward and the company banking era is moving to the modern era, so we can do banking with just a click of our fingertips in a mobile phone. So computer-based training is very important for the employees. They're very focusing on this, and then their English language training. So that's all from my side. Now let's look at the major HR challenges faced by the organizations. Thank you.
My name is Nathanael Steevan, and my metric number is 199758. So my part of the presentation is the major challenges of HR, major current challenges. So the first challenge that we found in our interview is the fight for good talent. Now, Zul mentioned to us, he used the term the war of good talent. He said it's getting harder and harder to find for good talent because companies all over the world are fighting for the good talent. So his company has to be special in their own way to attract this good talent. And not only can they just attract the talent, even any talent, if they can train it, these talent themselves can become the good talent. And which leads to the second part. When they become a good talent, is how to prevent turnover. Because sometimes when people, they like to change companies because they feel they have better options. So Jizul described it. The turnover rate for the bank is at average, which is at 6%. So next, he said some of the steps is to identify the excellent talent and the employees that are critical to the company. He states that they provide development and career pathing for them. They also provide opportunities to onboard for new projects to adapt to new skills and experiences. This way they can learn while they are on the job. And also they can learn all these new skills so that they become better as employees themselves. They also do salary adjustments and salary reviews to reduce the turnover rate. These salary adjustments will help these good talent that are critical to the company to want to stay in their job. Other than that, another major challenge is COVID-19. Jazul mentioned to us that they had a problem that they cannot operate as usual. So now, but he said at the same time, the banks cannot close. So they operated at 50%, while in the others, they were not ready to work from home. He said some people didn't have laptops, some people didn't have good internet connection at home. So they had to overcome these problems. Now on, the new people, they always give them a free laptop that the company provides. And from this, he said, after some time, he stated that they managed to fully adapt to the COVID situation and they do not experience that anymore. In terms of layoffs, he said that big companies do not suffer from this layoff, and his company in general did not suffer from this because it's not easy to downsize, he said, because there are many steps to downsizing. That is all for me for the current challenge of HR. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ahmad Harey bin Ahmad. I will explain about key lesson that our group learned during the interview. The first lesson that we learned is most of HR department in Encik Zul company, which is Mbsb Bank, have hierarchical system. That system is to plan, organize, and manage HR department successfully. And we also learned that the company apply agile practice, which is in HR, they call agile human resource, which applying agile approach to corporate talent management operation. The purpose of the applied agile practice is to empowering HR professional to better in handle volatility and boost adaptability and strengthen the organization. And second, we learn as a company, we always need to upskill and reskill our employee. This is because to change our employee to perform better and to perform their best abilities. And lastly, to contribute to the company goals, of course. And for the hiring, we learned that their company makes a program called GEMS, which is they don't hire fresh graduate, but the candidate will undertake few tests, for example, English test, leadership experience, and also they will do interview to the candidate before hiring to the company. And if you qualified to the GEMS program, you will be matching, they will find the matching skill that you have. For example, if you have marketing, you will send to the marketing department, and the business owner will guide you and mentor you as a candidate. And the last we learned that is process of getting interview lesson. As a student, we always need to prepare plan B, which is, for example, we didn't get the HR manager to interview, but we not give up. We try to email as many as we can to the company that we want to interview. And lastly, is communication is the key, because how we email the company is very important. Because if you act professional, they will reply to us. And last, we need to communicate in the class. For example, we ask Sir Mehan for extension. If we didn't communicate better, I don't think we managed to do the interview, and we maybe only get 12 out of 20 marks for our group project. That's all from me. Thank you.
Summarize. In this project, our group explored the various functions of HRM in a selected company. Like our company is Mbsb Bank. So what we get from this HR interview project is HRM or human resource are important in deciding whether a firm succeed or fail. So HRM recruit, trains, and develop the company best peoples who play a critical role in achieving strategic goals. So this interview provide a great deal of a practice for our group. So we learn how to be a self-sufficient in our project, which is based on a real life scenario involving the huge company. So aside from that, we learn about the difficulty in actually finding a company that willing to participate with us in this project. Finally, our goal for this project is to learn about HRM and to apply the knowledge and advice that provided by the manager that we interview, which is Mr. Zulkefli Rahman. And we can use the advice and knowledge that we get to build a successful HR department in future. So as a result, HRM is responsible for a lot more than just human resource planning and decision making. So a company efficiency is improved by assessing HRM performance. So that's from us. We will proceed to our individual reflection.
I have learned so many new things in this semester that have opened my eyes to the reality of working environment. In this course, I needed to conduct a project where an interview had been held with the HR manager from a big company. I learned how to email big companies and how to fix them when they ignore my email. I learned how to be responsible towards my work, especially when having group work, because it will not only affect my marks but also my other teammates. In this case, I cannot be selfish and need to cooperate with them. For example, none of the big companies replied to our email regarding the interview, so I tried to ask my relatives who knew any HR manager from big companies to help us.
Okay, so now I'll be sharing my individual reflections on the lessons learned in this semester from MGM3123. So, before this semester, I always had the desire to be a marketeer. From my early school days, I loved the philosophy of the advertising world. Nevertheless, in this semester from MGM3123 and its lecturer Mr. Mehan has given a second thought to my desire and added a new dimension of the corporate world. So, not only this, from the bookish knowledge, outside of the bookish knowledge, he also taught us the search for the purpose of life and how to search the pursuit of happiness. So for this reason, I'll be always thankful to Mr. Mehan, and I'll be remembering this course all over my life. Thank you so much.
This is my own individual reflection video. Throughout the semester, it's safe to say that I have learned many important skills and truths about working life and not just about human resources itself. Sir Mehan has taught me many valuable lessons and little anecdotes about many examples throughout his life that you can use as a lesson and learn from. It's obvious that Mr. Mehan is very knowledgeable and futuristic minded, and I believe that he also piqued my interest in such things and had very little knowledge about this prior to this. I also learned that making good impression is very important, whether it's for work or class itself. I will not forget how my first class was with Mr. Mehan alone, which he waited for me to start the class, for me to join and explain about the mix-up or the registration system. It was refreshing to see a lecturer take their time and actually sit one-to-one with the student and explain the situation. Another important lesson I learned is to always ask questions. For example, this project itself, we got an extension because we asked for it and we got it because of the initiative to ask. One of the most favorite quote that I learned is from Mr. Mehan is, the dumbest questions are the one not asked. And this really opened my mind because I think that it's always important to ask questions from now on. That's all for my reflection video. Thank you very much.
For my individual reflection, I will keep short and simple. And for Sir Mehan, I'm really grateful to have you as my lecturer for this course, which is Human Resource Management. I was able to learn many things about HR that I didn't know previously, but now I really know about lessons and skills that we need in HR. You also taught me about the real skills on and tips to do interview tips to go interview. And for lastly, I had opportunity to interview the real HR manager, which is the great experience for me overall. The HR manager teach me many things about how to run a company and many things. For overall, thank you for this semester.
Last but not least is my individual reflection. After all my friends have tell about their self-reflection, actually I do feel the same like them. So actually MGM3123 had opened our eyes because HR is important to us and we need to learn it more because each company need HR in a company to be successful in future. Also, thank you to Mehan because you already create a wonderful students and also giving a good coaching session for us. And maybe in future, we will be a better person and can make you proud.